In my books, it's the most massive buck I've ever shot. And that led me to taking a decision to take it back home, well, giving it back to everyone that had assisted me in the content. Some are young, some are old, some recognized. But with all that being said, let's go back to where it all started. So it's an early morning and I'm going out, but it's an hours away drive. And if there's no Waterbuck, because I'm hoping to hunt Waterbuck, but if there's no Waterbuck, then we'll take pigs. But regardless of which one, we'll see. If there's no Waterbuck, then we take the pigs. But if there's pigs and Waterbuck, I'm taking a Waterbuck, definitely. As soon as I hit the road, there's hope in the air, but now all that hope is gone down the drain because I get lost because of a GPS. There's a slight issue of the GPS sending me through a farm. My biggest concern was getting lost through the GPS and wasting so much time that we could have been using hunting. But to my surprise, there is no time limit here. In terms of the availability of game, it's not dependent on the time, it's dependent on where you are on the farm, whether or not you want to put a stock on. Or there's a Waterbuck bow across the hill, but we leave it. But then we realized we should have taken it. Putting a stock would be fine. But
how much do you back yourself?
200. Can we get it to 200?
Yeah, so if we...
My preferred distance is 200 meters, but one thing for sure, Waterbuck, kudu, these things have eyes to see from millions of kilometers. And it's not an exaggeration because they pack up and go and take it to 400. So what happened now is that the Waterbuck are a bit skittish. So they went over. Instead of giving us an opportunity at 200, they made it 400, 500. And now the mission is trying to locate them because they had gone over the hills, but we can't see any of those Waterbuck. My preferred distances are 150 or less, the maximum being 200 because you can't capture anything further than that. While still looking, I see a giant kudu bull. I've hunted all around, but I've never seen such genetics. While looking at the giant from far, he's wide and he's big and he's gray, we realize one thing. When you've got a rifle, what happens?
They know when you have a rifle.
And they can smell you.
And they just disappear.
And then when the rifle's gone,
next to your bucky.
And no sight of the Waterbuck, regardless of the wide, light grey kudu. I've been seeing color all over. There's dark kudu, but this one is a giant and wide horns. We've been looking for the same Waterbuck that we saw going over, but we can't actually spot them now because, as it said, when you have a rifle, they just know they smell the rifle, but I've seen a giant. Imagine now we left that Waterbuck in the morning and now we decide to go look for it.
Yeah, let's go to the tower, then we can look on both sides. Yeah.
And as luck would have it, it was signaling to us even when we arrived that we should take it. And the Waterbuck is still there. I've got no words for those 140 grains out of this 270.
Go down right there.
Down. Decent shooting at least.
Yeah, it was proper.
Yeah?
I enjoyed that. Don't shoot with a 308. Nothing with a 3 in front.
And all that being said about 3s and 2s and 140 grains, everyone trusts the rifle that they've used constantly and they've done everything. But now, apart from that, the work starts. It would be easy to shoot. Now load the giant. Yo, isn't it the giant? Yo.
Big, eh?
Yo. The real work where it involves back and leg work. Now the questions start popping in your head. Oh, How am I gonna use the whole animal? Do I have a fridge big enough to freeze all the animal? How long can I keep meat in the freezer? Toughest part of hunting is not actually finding the animal, it's the recovery. You know, when you start having every plan and trying that plan and foregoing that plan and bringing another plan and then foregoing that plan also, and then trying another plan. So we went through a couple of plans where we drag it up, no, let's load it on top, no, let's load it downhill, let's move the bucket downhill. You start getting wishful that you could ask the Waterbuck to just do us a favor and jump into the bucket and lay. You start thinking about tying the head, and then all of three of us try and push, but now who's gonna pull if we push?
Alright. Don't fall on me.
One, two, three. Here we go. Good job, eh?
Quickly realized that it is not as easy as you would think. It really needs people who are dedicated to working on these animals and wasting nothing out of it.
It's not a pushover. One thing I can say about a waterfall, the shooting is easy, but after that, it's tough.
Not a pushover even when you're done loading it. Now you have to offload it from one to the other. Different plans come to play, but then we decide at the end of the day, the same old-fashioned manpower can still be used and it'll work. Well, hopefully.
It's a plan, but we'll see if it works.
First trying to hook a chain but see that it's not gonna work. Try to pull the animal through from the other bucket to the other. The old-fashioned manpower does work. And as soon as I hit the road, I then realized then and there that I have to pass the garage that's been recently built. At least even if you buy anything that's small or big, as long as it's gonna keep the business going, every time I pass there, that's something that I'll never forgo. But now there's an issue. Everyone at home is drunk. Everyone that I was hoping for is drunk.
Purdy is the town, but definitely not yet arrived. Still going home.
But one thing is for sure, when I get home, regardless of how drunk they are, the same manpower that I was hoping for, the plan has failed. But one thing I know is they'll work regardless. Man, this day has a lot of plans coming up and then failing.
Things have taken a turn where it's not going to work out as I thought it would, because I've already heard that all the people that I was counting on are all drunk because of
a ceremony that was being held at the village. All the men that I was hoping for are drunk.
Litten, yes, a pen. Huh? This thing is too big for us to slaughter as two. There's just no way. Then I'll just organize a few guys that I actually wanted to give the meat to them. Then I'll just organize them and then we share.
Then after working, we'll just share the meat amongst everyone. But apart from that, everyone I meet, everyone is drunk. But I go and find them to collect them and bring them up. And we start working. So there's a young group of chaps that are there. And they've never seen such an animal. They don't know what to call it, and even in our language. But still we enjoy, and we enjoy it with honey wine and work all throughout. The question from the young lads is that, what do we call this thing in Isiklos? It's tough because they've never seen it, and it's even tougher to explain that these things were roaming around before. Nowadays though, you can't see it as the normal bushbuck or duiker that they are used to, because they've been hunted out in the village lands and now they're only available where they are protected and taken care of. That's where the lesson in conservation comes in, because there's an unwritten rule in the village. Every household that has a rifle or that has hunters, there's an unwritten rule that you don't shoot the female bushbuck. The unwritten rule is to conserve the amount of bushbuck in the village available. So now the lesson gets harder on them and they'll carry it on to the next. There's a certain way that the old hunters used to prepare the insides of an animal. And it's been passed down where you chop up everything from the lungs, liver, throat to the stomach. Now that everything is tender and ready, The liver is added because liver gets cooked very quick and you don't want liver to get too solid. And accompanying the liver is the grass and everything that's inside the intestine. Then after adding the liver, there's the green water that was strained from all that grass and everything inside the pot. And then it's added onto the meat. And once cooked, there's no green color, but there's a distinct taste of bitterness. And there are certain beliefs around why to do it and what to do with it. But taste is not as bitter as you would think, but it tastes nice. Oh, because it's something that sometimes I miss, from the heart to the liver to the throat. And even at night we continue eating. But in the morning, there's a guy that comes over and says he has found beehives. Well, he has 2 hives.
So he says he has a wild hive that he saw, but I can't trust. I'll see when we see.
So when we get to the hive, the first thing that happens is he stands on top of the hive, but there's no smoke to calm the bees down. And you know one thing, when bees are not calm, one thing is gonna happen. And then and there, they sting him in the mouth. He takes off his jacket and throws it away and says, I've shown you the hive. I want nothing to do with the hive. I don't want to get any closer to the hive. You can do whatever you want, but give me some of the honey. And with me, it's simple. You respect the bees respect you back. But if not, then and there, you're gonna have exactly what he had.
He's already been stung. He doesn't want to come any close. He got stung in one left and now he's...
Then and there, the laughter turns into pain as they choose my arm, not my face, not my neck.
Because they've already stung me, I'm not going to turn back, but I'm going to smoke them out, regardless. And they've started stinging, so we'll have to just work on it.
And I can't turn back when they've already stung me, but I'm gonna do it in a proper way, where I'm gonna dig them out and take the honey and then close the hive up.
The biggest problem is that the current material that we have as firewood doesn't smoke as much, so it's gonna be tough, but we'll work with what we have.
And now, as you've seen, every plan that I've had this day has come to a failure. So now even the material that we make as firewood doesn't smoke as much for the bees. But we are eventually able to win and we close the hive up.
So, successfully, yeah, we've harvested some of the honey, but we've left the hive closed up so that they can continue to build.
They continue to build. It would be sustainable that we keep harvesting honey at the time of the year and then leave them to be. But now there's a second hive, and you'd never imagine that you'd see someone eating brood, but the brood we also use in fermentation. The brood is also tasting a bit bitter, and with the honey combined, it tastes nice. Now we go for a second hive because we're hoping that the second hive has more.
I'm gonna look for a second hive, and but with the first one in the morning, I really got stung a few times. But if they start stinging me, I'm not gonna back down.
When they start stinging me, I don't move back. I don't care because it's their defense mechanism. So might as well let them sting you a couple of times and then get the honey. Because regardless, it's not going to be a pushover. But now the first problem, we've lost the second hive. It's a tough one to locate the second hive.
Well, he seems to have lost his hive because he's still looking for the anthill that he saw them in. But you see bees collecting pollen, so that means somewhere here the hive is.
As quickly as I say somewhere here, we find the hive. Well, he announces that he found it. And you know one thing is for sure, you need to take off your jacket, because if you have a jacket or clothing on, they crawl underneath your pair of clothing and then say you have 5 bees. When you bend over, your clothing presses on the bees and they think you're trying to squish them. Then they start stinging. So you'd rather take off all your clothing on top and let them crawl up and down your back without stinging you. At first sight, when I open up the hive, I find that there's a lot of honey inside, but still it's not a big hive. And what I notice is that they've tried building, but there's not enough space inside the anthill. But a closer look inside, I've noticed that these bees don't sting at all. This hive is not as strong as I thought it would be. And hence they've not built big enough hive. But the honey is there. Try by all means to look further and try and smoke inside, but nah, the hive doesn't go anywhere further. So still with this one, we decide let's leave enough brood inside for them to continue building and then close it up again. And the rest of the brood we'll use in the fermentation process, but there's not enough honey for us to say we can use it for fermentation. The actual ingredients that we were looking for needed to make the indigenous honey wine, we've sourced some of it. So it's enough for now, and then close the hive up for a different time in a different place. But they swarm next to the hive, and I'd start worrying if they swarm they might leave. What we grew up being taught though is to mix the sweet with the brood so that you can have most honey. But if you eat the honey only, you can take a few bites and you've had enough. It's too sweet to down. But apart from that, it's a very nice tasting thing.
Huh?
And with that all being done and said, it's time to leave and go back to reality. And off we go.